What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Super. I am one of your hosts, Spider, and I am joined by Mr. VIP, Frankie Washington. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm playing peekaboo with the cup, so now you see me. Now you don't. Peekaboo. There it is. Infinitely awesome, sir. Thank you for asking. How about yourself? Peekaboo. Peekaboo.
I was going to say peekaboo only works if you have eyes, but there is an eye in VIP, so I'll withdraw my previous statement.
It works. Look, for those who missed it, it's right here. I see you. Peekaboo.
Oh my god. No, I'm doing well. I'm doing great. Happy to be back again.
It's your favorite time of the day whenever you're watching this. I don't know when they're watching this.
Or night.
Well, yeah. That's a part of the day, right?
No.
Isn't the day encompassed with the morning, the afternoon, the evening, the night? Isn't that a full day?
It is a full day, but
first of all, I just blew somebody's mind right now. They're like, that's right, all day.
It is a part of the day, but you don't call it daytime.
You don't call daytime daytime?
No, you call daytime daytime. You don't call nighttime daytime.
No, you call it nighttime, but exactly. It's a part of the day.
Yeah, but if you're listening to something at night, just because it's part of the day, you won't say that, oh, I listened to that in the daytime. Because it was nighttime.
No, you'll say I listened to it at nighttime, but nighttime is a part of the day. You cannot have night without day.
And you can't have day without night.
Day without night. But it's still a part of the day. How was your day?
I feel like we're arguing the same point.
But my night was just incredibly awesome. But it was an okay day. You don't say that. You say
I think that the only reason that people ask how was your day is because the day is now over and it's nighttime.
So yesterday has no bearing on this conversation.
Well, then you add the modifier. How was your day yesterday?
But you don't say yesternight. How was your yesternight?
Oh, you would say, how was your night last night? If you know that somebody was doing something at night, you would ask them, how was their night?
Yeah, but you have to know they did it at night.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying that there are identifiers to specifically talk about night. If you want to ask somebody how their night was, you won't just say, how was your day?
How would you say it?
I would ask you, how was your night? If you and your wife went out on a date
after 12 o'clock.
No, not after 12 o'clock, because you still have afternoon in the evening.
But you know what? Hey, how was your afternoon?
It depends on your prior knowledge to the question that you're asking. If I knew that you and your wife went out on a lunch date, right? I would say, how was your afternoon? If your lunch date encompassed like a lot of the like afternoon, and you did multiple things, like you went out to eat, you went to the park, you went, whatever. And I want to ask you how all of it was. I'll say, how was your afternoon? If y'all went out on a dinner date or you went out on a late night date, look at the stars, go to the movies, whatever you're doing at night. If I talk to you the next day, I would say, oh, how was your night last night?
So the interesting part about what you're saying, the time that we are in preferences the question that I'm asking you about the day previously or currently.
Right.
Because if it's the morning and I said, how was your yesterday, or how was yesterday, to be in more, logical sense, you would tell me about the day, but not about the night.
Typically, yes.
Right. But I have to be specific.
If you want to know
last night.
Yeah. Then I would tell you about what happened that night. I wouldn't go through the entire day. I would talk about what happened that night.
Guess what y'all just clicked on?
They sure ain't hearing about what they just clicked on. Like, this is not what I came here for.
Yes, it is. Y'all know what y'all clicked on.
If you clicked on that thumbnail, you know exactly. See, that's a whole new thing.
A whole new
Tomorrow never
day. Don't talk about the night.
comes. Tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow never arrives.
Unless it was yesterday.
Mm-mm.
Or yesternight.
That's not a thing. But anyway, if you don't know what this is and you clicked on the thumbnail anyway, first of all, welcome. Happy to have you here. But second of all, this is All Things Super, where every week we talk about a piece of super-powered movies, TV shows, even trailers. We watch them, we review them, we react to them, we break them down, and we answer the question, is it super?
Is it?
Is it?
Is it?
We'll find out.
More than likely, yes. Or no.
Or no.
Or no.
50-50 shot. But if you like that, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version of the podcast, just search for All Things Super on any of your major podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
And leave a comment, because we like reading the comments.
Yeah, we like reading the comments.
There you go. Hey, when you're following on your favorite podcasts, follow on all of them, because you never know. One of those podcast companies might go down. You might need to back it up like a Rick clone. Got a podcast in a vat, just in case that podcast goes down. You got one backed up. It makes sense if you don't think about it. There you go.
I feel like this whole entire show makes sense if you don't think about it.
You're thinking too hard if you're thinking about it.
But
just don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
Turn your brain off and enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
There you go.
That's all you gotta do.
That sounds real rapey. I just want you to know that. It sounds really... That sounds so bad, dude.
So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. We're going to go ahead and start over again. And I'll just cut that segment out. Not even going to worry about that.
Leave it in. It's all right. Do not rape. That's the takeaway.
That'll stay in.
Raping is wrong.
That'll stay in for sure. But anyway, this episode, we're talking about...
Thank God for edits.
If you've been following us for the last few weeks, we're talking about we're ramping up to the beginning of Phase 5 in the MCU. We are getting ready for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania coming out this week. If you're watching this before the 17th, this week is when Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania comes out.
After the 17th, thanks for watching it still.
We appreciate your views. But so we reviewed all of the Phase 4 MCU TV shows. We reviewed and ranked the TV shows, and we reviewed and ranked all of the Phase 4 MCU movies. And then we started rewatching Ant-Man. And now, this episode, we're reviewing after our rewatch of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I am so happy we did this. And let me tell you why. I think Ant-Man is so underrated. I think Ant-Man is underrated as a hero, as a movie, and as an Avenger.
Okay.
All of the above. I think he's underrated. Listen, when we went back and watched the first Ant-Man, we were talking about how the pacing was. At least I think I said something about the pacing. It was a little slower pacing, and I think they were experimenting with things. It was an offset. We were outside of New York. We were in San Francisco. We're doing things. We're trying stuff out. We got Paul Rudd doing this Paul Rudd thing. Such a joy to watch. Ant-Man. I enjoyed the first one. Now we're here at 2. What do? We doubled down. We doubled down on Ant-Man. There wasn't as many ants, but there were ants.
We were talking about that in the last episode. And that just goes to show you how, you step away from a product for a while and then you kind of forget the little details. I forgot that ants were even a part of this movie. I mean, they may not have been as prevalent as we saw in Ant-Man because, like you said in the last episode, we got to learn about the different species of ants. We got to learn about their little special abilities. And so the ants were a very important part of the heist that they were trying to pull. They were very integral to the plan. Here we didn't necessarily have the ants highlighted, but the ants were almost always there. We saw that the ants were helping Hank and Hope in the lab, and they were helping building stuff. Yep. We saw that
they had an ant GPS.
They had an ant GPS, just a arrow in the sky. Just like, because I'm guessing y'all haven't watched this movie like since it came out in 2018, which honestly isn't that long ago. No. But I've probably maybe watched it one other time since then, but still, between the last time I watched it and before, we were recording the Ant-Man episode, I forgot about the Ant GPS. I forgot about basically Scott doing the same thing for Hank and Hope that Hank did for him in the first Ant-Man and breaking him out of jail. Had the ants covering the security camera, had the ants bringing in a suit. Not only did he bring in Hope's Wasp suit, but he brought in the FBI disguise for Hank. And I love the call out of the baseball caps and the sunglasses. And Scott is like,
the same thing. Yes, this is not a disguise.
This is not a disguise. This is us at a baseball game. We look like us at a baseball game. And because we see that in all these MCU movies. We saw it in Captain America's The Winter Soldier. We saw it in, of course, we see it in Ant-Man and Wasp. We saw it in Captain Marvel. Basically, she just put on a shield hat.
With a shield hat. A shield hat. Like, now never work for Shield.
She's bought a shield, so I don't know. But apparently, that's all you need for a disguise. It's just a baseball cap. We saw it in Iron Man 3 when Tony Stark was walking around Home Depot. He just had on the cap and sunglasses.
You would never know. I mean, if Superman could wear glasses and nobody knows that he's Clark Kent.
This is fair. This is fair.
I am laughing at the fact that they called that out, and this is the thing about it. I don't think that it was taken too seriously. I don't think they took it. They gave themselves liberty to have fun. We got the traditional trope in every superhero movies for as a sequel, which was your powers have to go malfunctioning at some point.
Right.
Spider-Man had it in Spider-Man 2. I go on and on. I'm not going to go on and on with those callbacks, but his suit's not working right.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he even told Hank that he got rid of the old suit, which, again, he lied. He's a superhero, but he has character flaws. He lies because, who's about to give up this suit? Nobody's about to give up this suit. But he had it.
But it's so funny just because of, like you said, not taking themselves seriously, because the first time Hank asks him, he's like, you did destroy the suit, right? And it's like he's expecting him to say yes, that he destroyed it, because of course, if the FBI found it, Hank doesn't want his technology to get into the wrong people's heads. He spent all of his entire career trying to keep his PIM particles out of other people's hands. So he's like, you destroyed the suit, right? And Scott is like, yeah, of course I destroyed it. And immediately Hank is like, how can you destroy my suit? That was my life's work. And then they, again, the callback, they're in the van and they're talking about how to find the lab, but they can't find the lab unless they, mess with the regulator on the suit, but the new suits don't have the regulator. And it's like, well, what if we had an old suit? And it's like, well, how do we have an old suit? You said you destroyed the suit. It's like, well, I may have lied and I didn't destroy the suit. It's like, what do you mean you didn't destroy the suit? I didn't destroy the suit. That was your life's work.
Immediate callback. Man, this was an enjoyable watch.
Mm-hmm.
This was an enjoyable watch. And you get the idea of why they're upset with him, because you went off to Germany and fought the Avengers with Captain America. You didn't even tell us. You didn't even act. And we acknowledged that in the movie.
Right.
Wasp actually said, you would have got me involved. You wouldn't have got caught. And you got to take her at that word, because you see how skilled she is.
Yeah.
You know how skilled she was before, but now you get to see her in action. And the callback, you put blasters and wings in her suit. I guess you didn't have that tech when you made my suit.
Oh, no, I did.
No, I had it. Dude, what do you say to that? How do you feel like, dude, every time I got to fly, I got to wait for an ant And then the call back to that later on when he was trying to call an ant.
And the seagull.
And the birds keep eating them. It's like, oh, come on, man.
But I mean, you got to think about where they're by the bay. That's going to happen. There's going to be seagulls just around everywhere.
Oh, it made so much sense. It flowed so well. And then you still had your surprises. You see Ant-Man growing to even larger than what he was in Germany. He's like 80-something feet at this point in time. They said it on the news. And then the comparison, first of all, any movie with Lawrence Fishburne in it, there you go. We're winning. Which brings me to my first question, Spider. Are we going to see Lawrence Fishburne again later on down the line in an Ant-Man series?
In an Ant-Man series? No, I don't think so. Because the next time we see Ghost is going to be in the Thunderbolts. And so we may see Lawrence Fishburne in the Thunderbolts. And just for a brief cameo whenever they come to recruit Ghost or anything like that. Because we saw at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp where Ghost was basically like, you need to go, you need to run, you need to leave. And Goliath, or what was his name?
Bill
was like, no, I'm not going to leave you, because of course he promised Ava that he was going to stick by her side. He was going to make sure that she was cured.
Ride or die, 10 toes down.
He wasn't going to leave her. And Ava was basically saying, I hurt people, you didn't. I can be on the run. If I can phase and I can do all of this other kind of stuff, I can run. You don't have to. You have a life. He's a college professor. You don't have to come with me. And he's like, I'm not leaving you. I'm going to be by your side. So my thought is, wherever they've gone, because we saw in the post-credit scene, they were trying to get the quantum healing properties or whatever they were trying to suck up in the canister. That's the reason that Scott got stuck in the quantum realm. So since they've been out for however many years now. I don't know if they're going to revisit that they went back in to do that again, because we have the whole situation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so I don't know. We might see Bill again in the Thunderbolts, but I don't think he's going to be in another Ant-Man property.
We were talking about this before the show. I am worried about Ant-Man now. Ant-Man 3, Quantumania. Don't understand what I'm saying clearly. Jonathan Majors is a star.
Yes.
There's no dim in his light. He's coming to bring something new to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to bring villainy like no other as Kang the Conqueror. I understand that wholeheartedly. But now I'm worried about Ant-Man because, again, Ant-Man 1, Ant-Man 2, we had comedy. It was kind of soft-hearted. It was love. It was family. I realized Ant-Man 2 was actually a heist movie as well. We had to go to the quantum realm to get Janet out. It was a heist. We had all the planning that we were doing and all the quantum entanglements. And
I wouldn't call it a heist so much as I would call it a rescue mission. But it was a rescue mission. They had to prevent a heist because Ghost was trying to steal the lab for her own purposes. And then you add in Sonny Birch on top of that. He's also trying to steal the lab. So it's a rescue mission trying to prevent a heist.
When are we getting Sonny Birch back?
I don't know.
And who is this anonymous buyer?
That's also a good question that we won't probably get any answers to.
So let's go ahead. For those who haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, I don't know what you've been doing with your life, but you might like us more than you like these movies. So we're gonna start at the top and start to give you a little breakdown. So if you watch the first Ant-Man, you know Scott Lang is a reformed criminal that not even criminal fits his description, but he did steal money from a corporation and give it out to the people that deserved it, which they were wrongfully taking the money for. He did time for that. And the events of Ant-Man 1 happened. Now, he's a loving father. He did go to Germany. And so in between Ant-Man 1 and Ant-Man 2, the Civil War happened with the Avengers. That gives you context of what's going on with Ant-Man. He went out there and he helped Captain America fight the Avengers from the Captain America side based on the Sokovia Accords. He's on probation now. He's made a plea deal. He turned himself in because he's not a traditional criminal. He's a good guy that just makes some bad choices.
Right.
So now he's on house arrest. His daughter comes over for the weekends. This man has gone the whole nine to set up intricate mazes and to entertain
That was
his
like
daughter.
a Indiana Jones type temple that he made in his house. First of all, that size of a house in San Francisco, how much do you think that's setting him back for? We talked about in Ant-Man 1 how he was looking at how much to rent an apartment. How much do you think that townhome set him back for?
Yeah,
and where's he getting his money from? Because
again,
XCOM is almost broke.
He was living with Luis in the first X-Men, first X-Men, Ant-Man, which made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's on his own. Maybe Captain America gave him some money?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. How much it costs, I can tell you right now. Nothing less than $3,000 a month.
Do you think he's renting, or do you think he owns that house?
Oh, depends on how much Captain America gave him.
Or do you think Hank was helping him? No, because it depends on when he moves into the house, though, I guess.
Here's the thing. When they went to the lab, it was outside, look ran down.
Mm-hmm.
And he was having a conversation with Hope. He's like, "You're staying here?" She kind of just looks at him. And he offers,
yeah, he said, if you need money.
You need money or anything, I can help. And she was like, we're good.
Right.
Like, very next scene, she had a whole duffel bag full of money. So, true. I don't know what y'all doing the cameras on, but I think these guys are going in some banks and shrinking some dollars. I just don't, I will say this. Pim has Pim tech.
Right. And I'm sure he has a lot of stuff that's been patented where he's making residual money off of it.
Of course. Come on. No one in this movie is unintelligent. Okay.
No.
Scott Lang is still intelligent. He may not be Hank Pym intelligent, but he still has a master's in engineering.
I mean, and apparently Hank Pym isn't Janet Van Dyne intelligent, because they were trying to triangulate her position. She had to entangle with Scott in order to fix their mistakes.
Yeah, she was like, "Y'all so close. You
right,
just need a little nudge." Damn, like we only been working on this since Ant-Man 1. You know,
he almost had it.
Goddamn. And so he's doing something for money. He has to have money coming in some kind of way. But he makes this whole setup for his daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go on an adventure. Got Louise there. Louise working on and he also had the money to start a business. That's not, you don't just, cheap. Yeah, you got to start. So goes through this, spends time with his daughter, slides down the stairs, accidentally throws his ankle monitor because he's on house arrest out the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Here come the feds. Here coming. Boom. These are the rudest feds ever. They don't knock.
Shit.
They just come in. Jimmy Woo at his finest. We get the introduction to Jimmy Woo.
I love Randall Park. Randall Park is so funny in everything that he's in.
He is a delight every time we see him.
The fact that he's just so astounded with Scott. He's so amazed by Scott. You know, he has I'm pretty sure he has like a little bit of fanboy in him. To know that, you know, he fought with the Avengers. He was like, oh my God, that's got to be so cool. Because at the end, when he was like, I'll be seeing you soon. And Scott was like, well, when? Like, well, what do you mean? You said you'll be seeing me soon. When will you be seeing me? He was like, well, next time you do something bad, I'll catch you. He was like, oh, okay. Well, yeah. He's like, I didn't know if you like meant like you wanted to go out to eat or something. And it's like, no, why would I say that? He just stopped and turned around. But did you want to? He's like, yeah, I was wondering why you said it. But he was like, did you want to go and get dinner or something?
The chemistry was there.
Even after all of that, I wanted Scott to be like, you know what? Yeah, we could get dinner. Like, I would love to see just like a because I know they did the mid credit scene with them disappearing and everything. I would love to see a post credit scene like they had a shawarma scene at the end of Avengers. Just Scott and Jimmy Woo just getting tacos. Just out getting, well, they couldn't do that because Scott was stuck in the quantum realm. But it'd be nice to have a scene with just them two just enjoying the
I don't think Scott hang out with the feds, so I don't think that was ever gonna happen.
Yeah.
So it was like,
but Jimmy's a nice guy.
Yeah. The payoff was we got to see Jimmy learn magic in WandaVision.
That is true.
That was the payoff for that, and I appreciate
it.
In
his office, a guy comes in, cards go around. Do you ever knock?
The irony, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't knock.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't knock.
I think every single time that they went to search Scott's house, they broke the door down. I think every single time they kicked in the door.
So after the feds come, we get the introduction of Jimmy Woo. We now see Scott going through his things. He's learning close-up magic. He's entertaining himself because he's literally days away from being off of house arrest. Still got 3 years probation to do, but he can get the anchor monitor off. He can actually leave his house. Let me say this. I knew some people that was on house arrest. That leash was not that tight. I mean, he could not step a foot outside of his house. Can't communicate with Hank Pym, can't communicate with the Avengers, can't communicate with anybody. He has to be inside. Right. I mean, I think they at least let you go to the corner for, outside. You can go drop a mail off. Back when they used to have mailboxes, you could go do those type of things. Scott couldn't step an inch outside of his door. That's crazy.
Because when Cassie was leaving, and he was like leaning like over the steps, like leaning his whole body out, but keeping his feet inside.
That was hilarious. And and here's the thing too. I'm not taking anything away from the new Cassie, right? The new Cassie that we're gonna see in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. But after these first two movies, that young lady that played Cassie in this did a hell of a job, and I'm saddened that she's not just inside Ant-Man and the Wasp, because she really had some gut-wrenching emotional scenes.
She does.
When she was talking to him about, you need somebody to have your back. And Scott was talking about, I don't think Hope wants that. And he was looking at her and like, did you mean somebody else?
She was like, I was talking about me. Right. And then, like, when he laughed, when he laughed, and she was like, "Don't laugh." Like, she was like really serious. But
oh man,
we didn't understand it then. We didn't understand even because this came out after Infinity War, but before Endgame, and so we didn't understand the ramifications of Scott getting stuck in the quantum realm and how much time had passed before Endgame started. And when he saw Cassie and he saw that she was 5 years older now, and the emotion that he felt, because the only thing he said is like, you're so big. And it's like that realization hits, like, I've missed out on those 5 years. And it's so good because rewatching these and knowing that, as we've seen in the trailer for Quantumania, how Kang is basically holding this over Scott's head, like, you're a man who's lost a lot of time. I can help you get that time back. Situation. We see, by watching these movies back to back again, we see in Ant-Man and the Wasp, we see how much Cassie means to Scott. Now, we knew that already. We knew that Cassie meant a lot to Scott. We knew that Scott wanted to be a good dad. We know that Scott wanted to be there for her. But the way that everything was phrased and how touched that Scott is by everything that Cassie does, and how Cassie holds her father in such high regards, you can see, like, how impactful that is for him, that he's missed out on that time. Because, like he told Hope, when Hope was thinking that her mother had forgotten her, like, it's been so long, she's probably forgotten me. And he said that when I was in prison, the only thing that I could think of was Cassie. Cassie is what got me through. He said I could have been in prison for 100 years.
100 years.
And I would never forget her. And so he's already, like we said in the last episode, he's already lost time because he was in jail. He missed out on the time with her. He missed out on the time where his ex wouldn't even let him see her because he's such a criminal, and now he's lost his 5 years. So going into Quantumania is like I see why he could be manipulated in this way, and it's the same way like in Infinity War, people were upset because Peter Quill like was a hothead and he knocked Thanos out of his unconscious state to when they were trying to get the gauntlet off of him. But if you think about the character, you watch Guardians 1, Guardians 2, and you look at Peter and how he handles his emotions. First of all, he was abducted and pulled away from the Earth when he was like 8 years old. Raised by Yondu and the Ravagers. Do you think that Yondu and the Ravagers were an affectionate group of people? Do you think they taught him how to manage his emotions well?
Go watch the Guardians Christmas special if you think Yondu is showing some type of an emotional connection.
Hey, Christmas. You just learned about Christmas 2 seconds ago.
That gets you killed out here, boy.
It makes you soft.
Make you soft. You don't want nothing. Get that Christmas out of here. I hate Christmas.
But so you take a person like that, you look at Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Ego told him that he's the one, Ego is the one that put the tumor in his mom's brain. He's the one that gave him cancer. Immediately.
That shit brought him right out of that trance. Like,
immediately brought him back. And what was the first thing that he did? Pulled out his blaster gun, started shooting Ego. Shot him up. Quill is a hothead. Quill is a hothead. So, of course, Thanos tells him, or he realizes that Thanos killed Gamora. He's going to go off the deep end. He killed the only woman that he loved. So, I can understand the emotions now. I can understand why whatever Kang is wanting Scott to do, it with the promise of being able to get that time back, being able to go back in time and relive those moments with Cassie and be able to see her grow up. I can see him and like, you know what? This could be potential. This would be something that can change, change both of our lives. And we saw that
especially
I think
when
it was in the first trailer.
In trouble.
Yeah, she getting bailed out of jail. So I'm sure he feels like he's responsible for that. Could Cassie have grown up and led a different life had I not been in prison, right? Had, my wife never divorced me and I could have raised her from the young child. How much different would her life have been? And I'm sure that he wants to try to correct that.
Crazy motivation. And that is the arc that we're getting with Ant-Man over these rewatches. So Ant-Man is started a company with his friends called Ex-Con. They are ex-criminals. Well, before I get into that, I want to accent what you're saying as well. When Cassie calls and she texts first, and again, comedy. We're having a serious conversation, and it's not off-putting that the phone rings or texts, and they're really trying to ignore it.
Right. Bill is trying to give this whole explanation as to what's going on. His phone is just going off.
And then, to see that it is Cassie, he's upset. It's 911, dude.
Right. It's an emergency.
We could do the rest of whatever you want to do, but I need to answer the phone.
Right.
So
now she's trying to video. Now she's trying to video chat me.
I gotta answer the phone, guy. You can do whatever you want to do after this, but I gotta do this.
And just like a kid picks up the phone. Hey, Peanut, have you seen my soccer shoes?
It's not an emergency.
Not at all.
But in her world, it's an emergency.
She has a soccer game. She needs her soccer shoes.
And they're coming over there for those shoes the next day. Again, everything is tightly weaving into the story. So now we got Scott, and we laid out the land. We're getting ready because we need this deal for the ex-con situation. But now Scott's doing his montage, learning magic. Love the call back into magic for the whole movie. Sleight of hands. Mm-hmm. If I'm doing you this, you're not paying attention to what's over here. Right. And he goes to rest. You see clearly he's reading. He's doing all this montage stuff. He goes to rest, wraps his little ankle monitor up because he can't get those things wet. having the visions. I thought it was just flashbacks at the beginning, but no. And if you go back at Ant-Man 1, when he goes in the quantum realm for the first time, I thought I saw Janet there too. I thought I saw Janet, like a little silhouette of Janet in the quantum realm there, right?
It's possible.
Possible. Lay those seeds, a little Easter egg seeds. But now it's a full-blown vision. You get to see, and let me just say this. Marvel, Disney, this de-aging tech that you guys are using is scary. It is scary good. It is scary good. And they started with Robert Downey Jr. when they did Civil War, right? And for them to double down again, de-aging not only Michael Douglas.
Yeah, they de-aged him in Ant-Man, in the first Ant-Man.
Yeah, but now they triple down. Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, and Lawrence Fishburne.
All de-aged.
And none of it looked crazy like they did with the Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker. It didn't look crazy. It still stands up.
Yeah.
So we get a whole vision of Michelle Pfeiffer playing hide and go seek with her daughter, and immediately Ant-Man comes to because he sees himself, and his self is her, and he's like, whoa, it's like, hey, what is going on? Because if I was Michelle Pfeiffer, I saw myself as Michelle Pfeiffer, turn these cameras off. Need a little alone time, okay? I just want y'all to know that. The Catwoman is on the prowl around. So he wakes up immediately, even after the FBI comes to his house, again, showing Scott Lang's intelligence. He had a cell phone, flip phone, burner phone, hidden. FBI didn't know where to look. He goes to the crawl space. Well, it's this outlet, but at the same time, he pulls out that phone, calls up Hank Pym, and says, I just had a dream that yada, yada this, yada, yada that. Realizing how I sound as a grown adult, this is not really an emergency. I'm just realizing I'm calling you to tell you I had a dream. So
don't even worry about it.
Yeah, that's okay. Does the most responsible thing that he could do. Takes the phone, breaks the phone, can't be traced. That's how burners work, right? Moving on. He's watching something on the show. I don't remember what he was watching, but he was watching something. Next thing you know, fly comes in, ant comes in. He don't know. He's just not even thinking about it. But you did see him get stung.
Yep.
Next thing you know, pass. Even the way he passed out was funny.
He's sitting there eating his cereal. Pick up the spoon.
I can't. That's nobody can tell me that's not all Paul Rudd.
Oh,
you can't
absolutely.
Tell me. Yeah, someone's not saying, yeah, you should fall like this. That was all Paul Rudd.
Of course, because it's like any other person, they'll be eating, and then they'll just kind of like set it down, like, ooh, I'm kind of sleepy. And they try to like shake it off, and then they fall. It's like, no, not here. He's like, I'm still gonna enjoy my cereal.
Oh, and then he wakes up again. This time, they didn't put pajamas on him. They left him in his own pajamas. Look how courteous that is. Look how nice that is. He's in his pajamas. He's riding. He looks over. He sees Hope. That's not a metaphor. It's actually Hope sitting right next to him, driving. And we get the idea that they're just driving a car full size. They're not. Hope and Hank are on the run. But now, here's a question. Why are they on the run?
Because of what Jimmy said is that because he used Pym technology. So they are now accomplices.
For the Sokovia. Yes. They had now violated the accords.
And another thing that we didn't mention, and it's just the pacing, the comedy. Because Cassie asked Jimmy, why can't you leave my daddy alone? Because of course, Paxton and I forget what the mom's name is, Maggie. They're like, they're basically like, why can't you just leave him alone? Why are you always here? You know, you're just bothering. That's the way Maggie was like. Maggie was like, you can't be here. And Paxton was like, yes, they can. He's like, you don't even have a warrant. You need a warrant. Like, no, they really don't. But so Cassie is like, why can't you just leave my daddy alone? And Jimmy, so great. He's just like, because your daddy is like, you know how you go to school and you have rules, like you're not allowed to draw on the walls. Well, your daddy went to Germany and drew on the walls with Captain America, and so it's like he broke it down like for a child, but then he went to explaining it like she was an adult. And that violated Section 4 of Chapter 3 of the Sokovia Accord, which states, and he just started getting into it. And then he was like, okay. And then he stands back up and Scott's like, you're so great with children.
And then he said, I'm a youth pastor. Oh my God. What church is this?
Oh, God.
Oh, man. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to be able to get these great moments in Quantumania.
No.
Not because of Jonathan Majors. I think Jonathan Majors is going to do exactly what he needs to do as a villain, but as a story, we won't have these heartfelt moments because we just won't have those characters. I think there's going to be so much going on that is going to be less Ant-Man-ish and more the origins of Kang. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, but I think that that's the way that it should be at this point, because I think that we're going to, because we see in the trailer, we get, Ant-Man going around, or we see Scott going around, he's kind of beloved by everybody in the city. He's high-fiving a kid. The guy in the coffee shop or whatever calls him Spider-Man. He gets awarded, Employee of the Century or whatever at Baskin Robbins. He and Hope are on some red carpet. So we'll see what his life is like. But we're going to get to that point to where you saw in the trailer that Cassie has opened up or found a way to communicate with the quantum realm, because obviously she's heard stories at this point. Scott's written a book. He has a podcast. I'm sure he's heard plenty of stories, or Cassie's heard plenty of stories about the quantum realm. She wants to be like her dad. She idolizes her dad. We see that as very apparent in Ant-Man and Wasp. In Ant-Man, Cassie watched her father shrink down and disappear in front of her eyes and then come back. So you would think that at that point she's beyond fascinated.
Yeah.
Right. And so we talked about Ant-Man and Wasp, she was like, well, I wanted to be your partner. I feel like I could do this with you. So they're sowing the seeds. This is the building of her to become stature, because she wants to be like her dad. And you got all of that in the first two movies, so I don't think that we need to necessarily focus on building relationships or anything in Quantumania. I think that's why we need to focus on Kang. We need to get that story or that explanation from Janet as to who Kang is, and we go in there, we find Kang, and we get his story, because we're going to have him for at least 3 more movies after this.
Jonathan Majors signed on for a 9-picture deal.
Right. So he's going to pop up all over the place. So we need to establish some kind of, because, we got little snippets of who Thanos was throughout all of the Infinity Saga, but it was never he wasn't an ever-present being through all of the movies. We saw a cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy where he was talking to Ronan. We saw a cameo in Avengers where he just happened to turn around. We saw a cameo, I don't remember what, at the end of whatever movie, where he went and got the Infinity Gauntlet or whatever. But it wasn't, yeah, I'll do it myself. And it's we never got to feel the threat of Thanos until Infinity War. We knew that it was building up to seeing him, but we never knew how much of a threat he would pose. So getting Kang, introducing him in Quantumania, and knowing that we're going to see him again over multiple properties, how much of a threat is he going to be? This movie is going to show us how much of a threat Kang is and how dangerous he is. And I think that's what the purpose is. So I think that we're still going to, at the beginning, we're still going to have, like, there are going to be some jokes sprinkled in. It's going to be some comedy, but I don't believe that it's going to be to the level that Ant-Man and the Wasp was. First, I don't believe that because Paul Rudd is not a co-writer in the script. He was co-writer for the first two films, so I think that a lot of comedy came from, you know, his experience, his comedic background. But the person who's writing this one is...
Drum roll, please.
Jeff Loveness.
Jeff Loveness.
Jeff Loveness
sir.
is the sole writer for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Avengers: Kang Dynasty. So there will at least be some continuity there because you have the same writer working on two different projects. But he previously worked on a lot of TV shows. He was working on Jimmy Kimmel. He wrote for a few Emmy Awards. He wrote for the Academy Awards. But he also wrote for Rick and Morty. Another writer from Rick and Morty stolen by Marvel.
That hatred, I mean, that feud will never die between those.
No, not at all.
You're stealing my writers. I know Dan Harmon's like, stop.
And he actually won a Primetime Emmy Award for the Vat of Acid episode for Rick and Morty.
Kiss the ass, kiss the vat. Tell me you like the vat. Oh my God. So we got Ant-Man. He's established now. He's waking up next to Hope. They're going back to the lab. They're upset with him because now they're on the run. But now
their house is gone.
The only reason that they even got him is because he made that phone call. He said, I had a dream like the Dr. King, but not the same. So they're having a conversation with him, and that's when he explains what he saw in the dream. And it verifies to them that there's no possible way that he would know this.
Right.
She's never opened up to him about that. There's no way that he would know this information. It had to come from Hank's wife, Hope's mother, their mom, the Wasp. So it confirms to them because they had turned on the machine. Is moments later is when he had the dream.
That's when he called.
It has to be not. This is far from a coincidence. You know.
Another line that I love. Again, talking about the comedy that is sprinkled throughout. Hope's asking him, he's like, well, you know, you say you saw, you know, you were playing hide and seek with a little girl. It's like, well, was it Cassie? We're like, no, it wasn't Cassie. It's like, you know, did the little girl hide in a wardrobe? He was like, no, she hid in a tall dresser. And Hank was like, so a wardrobe. And Scott was like, oh, that's what that's called? But then when Hope said, I used to hide there every time.
All the time.
And he's like, I don't think you ever understood the gist of the game.
Dude. I always know where to find you. You hide at the same spot,
Right. I don't think you understand how this game works.
That's hilarious.
It's just like those small little like interjections that you normally you don't catch when you're first watching it because you're still like taking everything in, and then those rewatches where you'll pick that stuff up. Oh man.
So we get to the point now that we got the motivation that we need to continue to build a machine. And then we had the situation. What happens after that point, Spider?
So
after that point, we get the introduction of Ghost.
Yes, because they need another component, and they have to. Hope has to go get the component from Sonny because they're doing black market dealings. He apparently deals in black market quantum technology, I guess.
Let's just say black market tech.
He wants black market tech. He knows how to
quantum tech.
Yeah, so like we said, we don't know who his buyer is or who his sellers are, because apparently whoever he was getting the tech from realizes that apparently Hope because they found out who Hope was, because at first she told her no, she's not Susan. She's not Susan. And so he knows that since she's Hope, then by association she's, related to Hank. So obviously they're doing something, and the buyer wants in on it. And so Hope is like, no, you're like, we have bigger, pressing issues right now than whatever y'all dealing with. So just give me my part. You take your money. I'm gonna go.
Now let's talk about this real quick, because they're gonna do a speculation situation in this conversation.
Okay.
He says Hydra has fallen. Sword was gone. Shield was gone. Hydra had fallen. And what was the other? It was 3 names. It was Hydra was gone, Shield was gone, and somebody else was gone. So do we think it could potentially be AIM? Could AIM be the buyer?
Possibly.
Could it be a corporation at all? Could it be Roxxon?
AIM or Roxxon, that's what I was about to say.
Could it be Kang himself?
Could be King Technologies, QENG, as we saw in Loki. There was a building in the I forgot what the name of that place was called.
Blow your mind if it's Kang trying to be the buyer, because he says he works for a very dangerous person.
Right.
It ain't no secret that Kang is dangerous. That will be a nice tie-in if the buyer was Kang.
Here's my question, because He Who Remains said that the Kang variants were battling with each other because, of course, all of them wanted to be the solitary person to control the multiverse. That's why they had the multiversal war. So,
of course,
if Kang was the buyer, what would he want to be a part of that project for? Because obviously they know that's a part of a quantum tunnel because of whatever components that they've been getting. So would he want the component, or would he want to be a part of having some type of ownership or some type of, surveyorship over the quantum tunnel to either go into the quantum realm to kill his variant, to kill the Kang that's in the quantum realm? Would he want to make sure that Kang never came out of the quantum realm?
I think both of those options are viable. I think both of those options should not be taken off the table, because I can go down here with an army and just take care of this guy, especially if he's the last one that I know is there, but I'm limited by the technology that I have to go back and get him at this current point in time. Maybe in the future, when this tech is invented, it branches off into just an infinite amount of times that the odds do not go into my favor to attack him at that current point in time. But if I can get him at this point in time, I'm ensured a 100% success rate of victory.
So
or like you said, I can control it so it doesn't open up in the future,
right,
to be able to have him exposed to get out. Hey, here's the thing: if he did get that quantum tech, could it have been possible that he would have stopped the Avengers from inventing time travel? Tony Stark invented time travel to go back in time the first time, to a point that Kang can get out later on. See, here's the thing with time, guys. It's messy.
Well, the reason that I say no to if he would stop the Avengers from going back in time, because we learned in Loki from Renslayer, when they asked about the Avengers going back in time and was that part of the sacred timeline, Renslayer said the Avengers were supposed to discover time travel and go back in time. So I don't think Kang would have stopped it. Unless, so here's my question. We already know that Kang is smart enough. We know that Kang has a genius level intellect.
Yeah, he reminds me of you.
Stop it.
What?
So
I say what I said.
Why, if the buyer was Kang, why is it that he couldn't have built his own quantum tunnel already and did whatever he needed to do? Why would he need Hank?
Here's the thing. We're going to see this. We're going to see Kang, but we're not going to see Kang at his most powerful. Kang at his most powerful can pull weapons out of pocket dimensions from time, from the future, from the past, anywhere in time. He has the tech. But I'm thinking at this current point in time, he doesn't have the tech. He doesn't have that ability yet. Even later on, I think in Ant-Man and Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp of Quantumania, he still won't have all of the tech that he would have. When we see him at the end of Kane Dynasty, that's the Kane that we should be fearful of. This is the Kane that's going to be at his mightiest. He's going to be able to pull guns out of nowhere and have tech that's just going to make our jaw drop.
So, do you think, and this is because I know we'll need to move on and get through the rest of the.
I try to think as many times as I can. It just doesn't come out right.
But because we saw in the quantum tunnel and in the lab period that we saw all the ants working on and everything, we saw that there were components built into the quantum tunnel that were your everyday components. Like we saw a paperclip, we saw like a little knob, so it was stuff that Hank was able to enlarge to fit as pieces to fabricate the quantum tunnel. So do we think because Hank has been so good at safeguarding the PIM particles that that's technology, or those are the components that King or whoever the buyer is, if they want to recreate their own quantum tunnel, that they don't have the ability to create those parts because it's just smaller items that Hank was able to enlarge to fit their, to just fit in whatever they needed to fit in. Because they were with the thing that Sonny had for Hope, it was just basically, it looked like just basically like a disk drive that they had to insert. So that was like the final component and everything. So I don't know. It just seems like it possibly could be Kang, but I can't see who else it could be. But like you said, it could be AIM, could be Roxxon, could be Hammer Tech. Who knows?
Could have been Hammer Tech. It could have been Hammer Tech. It's not to say that. And let's not get this twisted. They still have the 10 rings out there. They were interested in shrinking tech, and we never saw exactly where the sub villain, former Shield agent, ran off with the Yellow Jacket suit. Maybe he was trying to run the Yellow Jacket suit off of the PIM particle tech.
Well, he didn't have the suit. He just had the juice.
Well, if you mix that juice with quantum juice, what kind of juice you get after that?
I don't know.
Kool-Aid. So now we got Ant-Man back. I didn't say it was delicious. I just say it's an abomination. Now we got Ant-Man wanting to help out because the deal with Sonny Birch is going bad, okay? He's taking the money. He's not giving up the component because, Susan, a.k.a. Hope, says no. Let's just do this deal that we said we're going to do, and I'm out of your hair, you're out of my hair. You go your way, I go my way until I need something again. We're good. Sonny Birch was like, no, if you don't want to do business with us like that, you don't want to do business with us at all. Oh, no, you can't take your money back. Let's just call that an inconvenience for hurting my feelings because he's clearly sweet on Hope. Hope's very attractive, but she's not interested. Instead of taking no for an answer, he takes her money, which never really works out well for anybody in any movie when you just take someone's money. Just letting you know, just don't do that. It's not gonna work out well for you. So Hope says, okay, literally says, okay, and walks away. Comes back in her Wasp gear and commenced to beating the snot out of the henchmen. All of them. Mm-hmm. Didn't kill not one. I want you guys to know that. She didn't kill anybody. She did knock them on their ass, though. One of the best action scenes.
One of them might be dead because she did set one of them on fire.
He all right. Okay. That ain't nothing but a little Aju juice. He all right. He just burned his arm a little bit.
No, his face was on fire.
You know what it is? Well, he went to the hospital, okay. So he wasn't in the rest of the scene. Now here's the
henchman got great insurance.
No, henchmen do. What was the breakdown?
Henchmen versus goons.
Yeah, henchmen believe in the cause. Goons are disposable.
Just looking for a paycheck, right?
Yeah, there you go. So I'm sure he's in the hospital. We'll see him again.
Okay.
But what's the story with the henchman that kept having his chain in his mouth? What's that about?
I don't know. I have no idea. No clue.
He was driving. He had the chain in his mouth. I'm like,
at the end of the movie, at the end when he had pulled his gun out on Louise, he had his chain in his mouth. I was like,
so when he got electrocuted, he got an extra joke because he had his chain in his mouth.
I don't know.
Whatever. It's just an interesting
thing. Yeah, just an interesting thing to notice, and just like, it's an odd choice.
Okay.
I don't know.
So she beats up everybody. One of the best fight scenes in the series, and like we said before, she clearly is capable. She can kick butt. She's walking out of there with the component. She even goes as far as giving Sonny Birch the money back. So she was even being honorable amongst thieves. But she's not a thief. She's just a businesswoman and trying to do right by what she said. In comes Ghost, which we had Ghost show up in a scene or two, but not really there. Interesting word dynamic. They thought Ghost was a guy. They kept calling him a guy before they knew it was a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost clearly, and I want to say this about Ghost. There's not one time Ghost went on her mission and failed. Ghost won every time. She got the lab, she got the device, she went home. They took it, she got it back.
Mm-hmm.
She got the lab back. The device was inside the lab. So every time she went out, she was successful. Try to punch her, phasing through. Try to kick her, phasing through. Try to shoot her, phasing through. She caught Hank Pym with one of the most gangster things I've seen in the MCU. She phased through his neck and had him by the neck without even holding his neck. And there's no point in time that I thought she could not rip his inside of his neck out. Deadly.
It wasn't that she was going to rip it out. It was just that she was going to make herself solid and then just bust all that up.
Ooh, Spider, that's horrible. That is horrible. That is some deadly stuff.
It is.
And then we go to the point that she even kidnaps all three. This is later, because now that they're trying to find the lab,
mm-hmm.
Now we got to go meet Lawrence Fishburne's character, Bill Goliath. We go talk to Bill because we don't know how to track the lab down, which was interesting enough that Bill gave them the information just so he could do the reveal later on that it was me, Hank. It was me.
Well, you could have just said that they did hate each other.
Well, I think honestly, Bill was at work and he didn't know, because it was after they left, you saw the expression on his face, and I think he put it together.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was like, she really went and stole a lab. Like, you can tell through the dynamic, like she's kind of doing her own thing.
Right.
She's maybe not even there every day because she's been weaponized, and it wasn't until S.H.I.E.L.D. fell that she was able to be free. And of course, she would come back home because he's clearly like a father figure. And so he's housing her, but he's trying to help her get stabilized, but the situation is getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's probably telling her, we'll figure something out. And then she's not dumb either. So she knows about Hank Pym. Her father worked for him,
mm-hmm.
knows about the Pym tech, knows about quantum entanglement, knows about energy. So bump this. I'm going to find a lab myself, and I'm going to go get it, and then Bill's going to help me. I don't think it was a point that he knew, but he figured it out.
Yeah.
So when they figure out where the lab is, of course, they're going to get it. Ghost is regenerating. Bill built her a chamber so she can heal herself or possibly become stabilized. Kind of like a hyperbolic chamber. So she's juicing up or healing up. She's been through a lot. Scott, Hope finds the lab. They're going in. They're going to get the lab. They're going to get the component. so cold how she wakes up.
Just gone.
I just want, Spider, how fast can you get to the places that you're going to get to if you did not have to walk through walls? If you did not have to walk through doorways, you just could walk straight out. It made sense.
The thing about it was the character design, and again, this is something that I didn't notice on my first watch through of it. The character design for Ghost and the way that she operated when she moved, right? Because they say that her body has become uncoupled from this reality and she's phasing through multiple realities all at once. If you watch her phased forms like they do something different. When she was in the lab, and at the very end of the movie, when she was in the lab and she was leaving to go and basically fight, because she went to go fight Scott and she left the lab. When she walked through the door, there were like 3 different phases of her. Like one version of her phased through, the other version of her phased through, the third version of her pushed the doors open. So it's like she mimicked the movement of pushing the doors open, but her body still phased through. So in one reality, she pushed the doors open. And it's like when she was talking to Bill that night, she was talking to him. It's like she walked off, but she still had a version of her that was still talking to Bill. It's like the Rick and Morty episode of the uncertainty of splitting the timelines. It's like different versions of yourself do different things, but you can see all of those happening for her at once. And it's like, that's just like, we didn't even know about different realities at this point, different timelines at this point. And it's just like, they put this in a movie and we didn't even realize yet.
Right? Ahead of his time. Ant-Man and the Wasp. So she captures after the fight, she captures all 3. And just because if Hope's here, Hank's somewhere around. Right. I'm just going to go outside and get him.
Like, he's close.
I know he's around here somewhere. He's got to be close.
Because of the ants. Because she saw the ants and... that was at the end when they had the ants stopping her from... The ants were crawling under the machinery and pulling out the wires. That's when she knows, when she was like, well, they can't be far. Because obviously the ants are being controlled.
Right. So she catches Hank. She gets Hope. They're knocked out. Scott wakes up. She's not in her suit. I think she had a little crush on Scott, the way she was, doing the hair twirl and saying, hey, she was talking all soft to Scott, I mean, it's Paul Rudd. So,
I think that because she doesn't have any beef with Scott, right? They're like, yeah, you're working with Hank, but I don't think Ava, her intentions weren't to hurt anyone. She just wanted to get the machinery to cure herself. She wanted to be better. Facts. And so Scott tied to the chair. He's not a threat right now. I have no reason to be hostile towards him. But to Hank, you're the reason I'm like this. And Hope, you're his child. And you also just fought me. And so I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive towards you two.
Some of those hits hurt. you caught me on something. A little phase didn't phase right. And so even though she may be sweet on Scott, she still didn't let him go until, and then again, great callback because
they're sitting in the van.
Scott was asking about the Altoids.
Hey, can I get one of the Altoids? No. In Scott's mind,
never explain why.
But in Scott's mind, he's just thinking, well, shit, he's still pissed at me to the point to where he won't even give me a damn mint.
Give me a mint. God damn.
Like, you that man? Like, bro, I'm sorry. I went to Germany. I got y'all in trouble. Y'all lost your house and everything. Because he even asked, like when they were saying, oh, well, we can't go back to my house. We can't go back. He's like, oh, what about your place? And he just looked at him. He was like, right, you're right. I'm sorry. It's like, I understand y'all still mad at me, but bro, can I at least get a mint? I've been going all day. You done took me out of my house. Haven't brushed my teeth. Just can I get a mint? No.
Great callback. Bill opens up this Altoid can because Hank is faking a heart attack, and smart enough. The team just plays along with it. They know even Ant-Man is encouraging Bill. Just give them the pills, man. Just give them the pills. And of course, keep in mind, Bill and Ava are not the bad guys. We are not. There's no hard villain in this movie. So, of course, they don't want Hank to die. So he goes to open the pills. Surprise, motherfuckers! Ants. We love the ants in Ant-Man. We need ants. And there they were in full. They were huge ants. And they came up, obviously bit the ropes or bit the chain or whatever they had him tied up with. Mm-hmm. And now Ant-Man is free. We use the ants to subdue Bill. Bill's sick of these ants. You can tell he was sick of these ants because these are large ants. And of course, if he gets bit, if anything else, it's an inconvenience. You ever had an ant bite spider?
Yes.
They itch like a goddamn. It's like goddamn. If nothing else, that ant bite would have made his arm itchy. So he don't want none of that. And of course, he's familiar with it as well. Previously working with Hank Pym. So now we got the lab because we knocked Ava out. Now we got the lab. Now we got the device. Now we're in hiding. Here we go. It's time to get this quantum realm juice going. Charge it up. Nothing's really happening. It's shutting down again. Then we have the revelation that Hope comes through.
Janet,
yeah, thank you. Janet comes through, give the coordinates. Very touching scene. Very touching moment.
Very talented from Paul Rudd to mimic Michelle Pfeiffer.
Lot of face holding, lot of hand holding. And I was in that moment. I was like, yeah, man, this is what's going. Yes, they go and get their mom because who wouldn't want to go and get your mom? 30 years, you thought she was dead, she's alive. And I'm going to quote Black Widow, if there's an ounce of hope, if there's a chance, we owe it to everybody in this room to go and get him. Or everyone that was lost. I butchered the quote. That's not the important part. The important part is that we're going in the quantum realm to get Janet out. Mm-hmm. So now we got the coordinates. Love, put the timer on.
Yeah, 2 hours.
We got 2 hours. Put the timer on. Here's the thing. We talked about this. How much money is they really making in the Avengers? How much money they really making? Because Scott has his business going. Clearly, they're not doing that great because we learned later on from the truth serum because Sonny Birch finds
the truth
Louise.
Serum, that's not truth serum, but it actually is truth serum.
We did get to see who the FBI snitch was.
Yes.
Which he got dealt with. He was a no name kind of somebody. He's not big on the Marvel list.
I'm trying to remember. What happened to him again?
Ghost punched him. Well, she palmed him.
Oh, she palmed him in his chest. I think he died.
Well, he ain't back for the sequel. I could tell you that. With Chris Tucker say he ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
Can you imagine getting hit by somebody in multiple realities all at once?
There's no way his chest not caved in. In one of them realities, it's just gone. I can tell you that. So he's down for the count.
Yeah.
So Sonny Birch has the inside information about Scott Lang's, offices, businesses. It's a legitimate business. So he just pulls up, asks the information about where Scott is. We get the hilarious throwback to Luis doing his thing, doing the fast talk. Everybody in the Luis voice is hilarious again for the second time.
I think Hope doing Louise is probably like my most favorite thing.
Right? Right? I just can't see her doing it. And then as she does it, it's perfect. It is perfect. So now Scott was talking to Luis earlier because the contract needed to be revised.
He forgot the motion sensors on the back of the property.
Right. So oversight on Scott's fault. This needs to be rectified. We really need this.
And he can't leave the lab.
Can't leave the lab. He's not even supposed to be left the house.
True.
So the fact that he showed up at the office
because they programmed an ant to follow his daily routine. And so she was like, What'd she say? 6 hours in front of the TV, an hour in the bathroom. She was like, I don't know what that's about. He's like, look, when you 2 hours in the bathroom. He's like, look, when you say it that way, when you put it like that, it was like just mapped out his whole daily routine. Like they had been watching him. They had really been watching him because why have they been watching him? We monitor all high potential security threats.
And he did break into their house.
Mm-hmm. Not even that, but because he left and he went to Germany with their tech.
Gotta know who you're talking to. Gotta know what you're doing. You had that suit, which they probably knew he didn't destroy it either. There's no doubt. So Luis knows where Scott is. And Sonny Birch uses the FBI to go get Scott. Because Ghost, smart enough, again, she's not dumb. She knows Sonny Birch is there. She's in the room listening to the conversation.
But that wasn't her first option.
What do you mean?
She was going to go after Cassie. Because she found out, she didn't know that Scott had a daughter. Because they were there, they were captured, Cassie called. And she saw how important Cassie was to Scott. So she was like, well, I'm going to draw him out. I'm going to flush him out. I'm going to go get his daughter. Bill was like, no. He's like, I promise that I will help you. I promise that I would do everything in my power to make sure that you are healed. But if you go after Cassie, if you hurt that little girl, I'm done. I'm leaving you. I'm not going to help you anymore. So that was her first choice. That was her first option. That was her go-to. She was like, I'm done with this. I'm tired of playing nice. I'm going after his daughter. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get the lab. I'm going to get the component. I'm going to figure all of this out. And Bill said no. And so she
saved her from villainy.
Saved her from villainy.
Saved her right there from villainy. Because I can guarantee you it didn't work out well for Darren Cross.
It did not.
It did not. Right now. Don't do it. Leave that little girl alone. So we do hit the compromise that she's now going take out Sonny Birch's car, so she's not having to have the inconvenience of worrying about them.
But yeah, like you said, she's smart. She knew she took out that car. Either whether she took it out before she went in the building or after she came out. She's like, you're not gonna be able to follow me because I'm gonna take your tires out. But then that's when Sonny is like, well, Sonny's also smart. No real dumb people in this movie. Sonny's like, all right, since we got delayed, we can't go get, because they want the lab. But since we can't go and get it, we're going to make the FBI do the work for us. So he calls up his contact, like, look, I got the location on Scott, Hank, and Hope. So like he calls up his dudes like, hey, do you want a promotion? I got the details for you.
Facts. The snitch go right in there and talk to Jimmy Woo, who was in the FBI. There you go, not knocking. And now the chase is on because again, we only got 2 hours.
Right.
All of this is transpiring within a 2-hour time frame. Man. Whew, tensions are high. Again, as a story device, anytime you put a clock on something, you're just ranking up the tension.
Right.
So now we got all of this going on. How much time do we have to get Janet out of the quantum realm? She's probably, saying goodbye to King at this point in time, take it to herself, he gonna miss me a little when I'm gone. Like Drake's song, just a little when I'm gone. Think about me. So she's getting her affairs in order. We gotta make sure the lab is at a full size so Hank can go and return. That's how it goes. It can't be shrunken. It got to be full size.
Because you can't come back to full size if you're inside of something that's not full size.
Makes sense. That's logic we can live with, right? So we got to get this. We got to get the lab back because again, Ghost got the lab. Went to the FBI. I mean, went in the woods because Louis said what Scott was. He was in the woods.
Mm-hmm. The reveal,
they read my goddamn mind.
Hank goes into the quantum realm. They're like, all right, cool. So no, this was before he went to the quantum realm.
Come and say, because Luis called and said, hey, the Fed's coming.
Right, and he was like, well, I gotta go home. And so you could see even before that, we see that the hurt that's on Hope's face. Because she's like, I finally found myself starting to trust you again, and you screwed over us again. Now we're stuck, and we're already under this time crunch, but now we have to change everything because you did something. You told Louise where we were. It's like we were supposed to be secret. It's like how can you fuck us over like
now,
this again?
Here's the thing: is that really Scott's fault? Because again, he needs this contract. It's really hard for an ex-con to get to work.
It's kind of everybody's fault because Hope and Hank brought Scott on for their own selfish reasons because they're trying to get Janet back. Scott is their only connection into because they had that entanglement, and we didn't mention when Hank was like, "You entangled with my wife," and Scott was like, "Hank, I respect you too much. I would never do that."
Right. And we haven't even talked about the high school scene when he went to, the elementary scene when he went to Cassie's school to get the suit that was inside the best grandma ever trophy.
Right. And he got stuck, not even as kid size, but like because Cassie at this point is probably like a 4th grader, 5th grader. He got stuck at like kindergarten size to where probably like preschool size to where he couldn't even jump up and reach the book bag. But the thing about it, Hope was watching him and she was like, "Oop, almost got it." Just like really enjoying it. Just awful. And I heard that like for like Paul Rudd did all of that practically, and for him to like go into Cassie's book bag, they created an oversized book bag because of course he's acting all of this out as a normal sized person, and so for him to like open a book bag, they created like a larger than life adult sized book bag. Because if you look at that, you can look, it doesn't look like a normal book bag. It's like it's all like the proportions aren't like what you're used to seeing. It doesn't look like it's stitched the way a normal book bag will be stitched. So yeah, they created this big giant book bag for him to go through, and then even him running out of the building, he had to like run down each step like with the oversized hoodie on. But he took each step individually like he would have to if he was a small child. And then he jumped in the van, and so he had to just flop onto the seat, his feet just hanging. And then Hank, all of them are assholes. So he gets in the van. Hank is like, "So, how was school?" And he's like, "Haha, really funny." He was like, "Can you like, because Hank told him that the suit was a work in progress. So of course, there's foreshadowing. Something's gonna go wrong."
Right.
And so it was like, "Oh, he's still cranky. He must not have had his nap." And so he was like, "Do you want a juice box and some string cheese?" But Scott's like, "Do you seriously have that?" It's like,
you have that?
Like he still wanted the snack.
If you got it,
right? Like really, you have juice and string cheese. But yeah, so it's really everybody's fault. So they had their own selfish reasons for bringing Scott in. Scott was very adamant the whole time. He was like, "I have to be at home because FBI could come home at any moment." We're like, "We got it covered. They got the ants. The ants replicating your routine. They're not gonna think that anything's wrong. So nobody's gonna come and bother you." And so everybody was in the wrong at that point. But he told Louise where they were because, like you said, they needed that contract. They needed the money because the business was about to go under, which we found out when Louise got injected with the truth serum and told Dave and Kurt that they were going bankrupt. That's why he was so upset about the Intamin's breakfast pastry. He was just like, this pastry represents the red that the company is. They were arguing about the breakfast. It was like, "Well, what are we supposed to eat for breakfast?" "You eat the oatmeal packet." The oatmeal packet. Oatmeal tastes like sand. You just gotta spruce it up, put some flavor in it. Really like arguing about breakfast. But so like we said, the reveal. So Scott leaves because of course he has to get home before the FBI gets there. And so they know that since the FBI knows their location, now they have to relocate the lab. So of course they leave out of the door, shrink the lab down, surrounded by FBI. And the fact that they were only on that one side of the building, like they leave out and it's like they didn't have any cops on that side, but they shrunk it down, nothing but FBI behind them. And then when they turned back around, that's when they pulled up in front of them. So just, I don't know how the FBI planned that, and that's how it was going to be. But that reveal, that was, because it was like, okay, where they're good. They're going to, shrink down, they're going to move out, and they're going to be gone. And then and just nothing but FBI. I was like, damn, they're caught. They're stuck.
Another side note that I want to get into too, and I was talking about this, is the realism about Luis.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily saying about him giving up the location, the realism about him wanting a suit. If you next to Ant-Man, he got this incredible suit. Why wouldn't you want a suit? I thought that was so realistic. It's like, I like a suit. It don't even have to have powers. It can just shrink. Like, I want a suit.
He was like, damn, I wish I had a suit of my own. Maybe even a suit with low level powers. Or you take a suit that had no powers. He's like, I just want a suit.
Then he gets his wish fulfilled. He gets a car that can shrink.
Mm-hmm.
And drives it like a badass, obviously, to help Scott out because he had the remote to make the lab go big. Because again, you can't return with the lab being small. So now the lab, now Scott is home, getting ready for the FBI, but Hank and Hope are arrested.
Right. Also, expertly covered by Cassie. Cassie went upstairs looking for Scott, saw that the ant was in a tub, and then FBI breaks in again, kicks the door down, just runs in. And Cassie
was that plastic bag over the ankle monitor when that ant was in the tub?
Yes.
Who put that on that ant?
I don't know. Somehow the ant was able to tie a plastic bag around its own foot. I don't know how the ant did it. Maybe it had other ants to help. I don't know. I don't know how I got it on there. But Cassie comes downstairs, meets Jimmy Woo in the stairwell. It's like, no, you can't go upstairs. My dad is really sick. He's throwing up all over the place. And the fact that Jimmy was like, I don't care. I'm going to go get him. Then he stopped. He was like, when you say a lot, do you mean like a lot? Like, I don't want to see all of that. But it's just because Jimmy is the way who he is. Of course, he stopped for that extra second that gave Scott that time to get in the bathroom. And the fact that he was up there and he made it. And it's like every single time Jimmy thinks he's got him. Nope. Scott's just one step ahead.
It's amazing. But Jimmy does give the information, or he doesn't give it, but his co-worker said, yeah, we got Hank and Hope. So now Scott knows that they're caught.
Mm-hmm. And he feels horrible.
He feels horrible. He doesn't really know what to do. We have the heartfelt moment with Cassie. Well, they sit down and they talk about him being so right off the bat. So how long you been Ant-Man?
You're right.
You've been Ant-Man again. He's like, not long.
Cassie is a smart child.
Oh, and we're talking about being a hero to the people, right? And, you shouldn't feel bad about it. And he's really saying, when I do this stuff, I mess up and then you're at risk. I'm risking everything here. And Wu said it, 20 years minimum. Mm-hmm. You get out of line, 20 years minimum, you're gone. Minimum.
And it's like, if I do this, this is going to hurt you, and I don't want to hurt you.
Exactly. But again, she gives him permission because she idolizes her father. And now we see Ant-Man spring into action. We get the escape scene. Don't get it twisted. Again, Hope's capable. She had a bobby pin that she apparently put in her side cheek at some point in time. It could have been there all the time.
Always. She's always got a bobby pin in her mouth.
She's ready. Tied up her hair, and she had a disc. She was going to shrink down the wall. The wall was load bearing. Don't matter. We got to run fast, Dad. Get ready. Mm-hmm. It's the best plan we got. Scott to the rescue. Shows up, suits there. Hank has his disguise there. Clearly, Hope shrunk down, went on the other side of the door. We don't need to see that. We understand that. She opens the door. Hank walks out, and now we're off to the races, right? We got to get the lab back again because remember, Ghost took the lab out the car, but this time Hank was smart enough to put a tracker on it.
So when the ants could follow.
So now we got the ant GPS that we alluded to earlier. So we go to the lab, right? Here's the question that I have.
Okay, you ask a question, I ask my question if it's not the same question.
We understand that we got to harness quantum energy because we're trying to stabilize ghosts. What connection did we have with Hope to make this quantum vacuum cleaner connect to her DNA? How does that tech work?
I mean, with Janet.
With Janet, yeah, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. With Janet, how does that tech work? Because Hank shrank.
I think it's because
Bill puts him out, and we're trying to figure this out.
I think it's because Janet, being in the quantum realm for so long, she absorbed all of this quantum energy. And so I don't think it was specifically the Janet's DNA. I think it was just ciphering the quantum energy out of her. And that's why siphoning that quantum energy helps stabilize ghosts. And so she said,
How her?
Because that's the real reason that they wanted to get the component, because they were also going to attempt to get Janet out in order to get that quantum energy.
We had the same goal.
The only person that they knew of in the quantum realm to absorb that quantum energy. So it's not necessarily Janet, it's just anybody that had that quantum energy to siphon it out of. And she just so happened to be the one that they were bringing back.
Did she have to be inside the vehicle to make that happen?
That I don't know. That's that movie magic plot device.
Magic.
But here's my question.
What you got?
We saw when Hope first got Scott out of his house and brought him to the lab. The lab was just in a random parking lot, right?
Yeah, not tied to any plumbing at all.
I'm not worried about the plumbing because I feel like if they knew that they had to make a mobile lab, we saw the building was like 7-8 stories tall or whatever. I feel they had a plumbing tank, they had a generator for all of their electricity, all of that kind of stuff. So
makes sense.
I'm not worried about that part. But you would think that somebody somewhere would have noticed that this was a parking lot. I didn't see no kind of construction or nothing. And now all of a sudden there's a building here.
You'd be surprised how many people don't pay attention to things that's already there.
But then when Ghost enlarged the building, just enlarge it in just a random area, like on top of cars. Nobody said anything about that. Just nobody cared. Like, there's a building on top of my car now.
Yeah, not really.
I parked my car, went to my doctor's appointment, came back out. There's a building on top of my car.
There's a building on top of it. You're gonna have to come out to San Fran.
I guess.
Ant-Man fights Ghost, cleared, sleight of hand, distraction.
Because like we said, they sent the ants in, they were about to turn the machine on, but the ants started pulling all the wires out. Ghost realizes, well, they're here, they can't be far, so I'm going to go out, I'm going to go find, and Ant-Man got his ass kicked by Ghost in the other building. Basically,
but I think that was all a ploy, though.
It was definitely all of it. It was to keep her occupied. So that way that Hank could get into the building. He got into the building, got the ants again. Ants surrounded Bill. Bill's like, I'm sick of these goddamn ants. But so he basically, Hank and Bill kind of came to terms. He was like, I need to get Janet. Once we get back, we'll figure out how we can help Ava, I promise. And so he was like, but you might want to step back. So again, Hank not holding any ill will towards Bill. He understands what Bill is trying to do. He's like, you need to get out because once I go in there, we're going to shrink the building down. So Hank gets in the machine, goes into the quantum tunnel, shrinks down, almost gets his ass eaten by tardigrades because they lose the signal. It was like a GPS, had to wait for it to finish recalculating before you could go in. And so they shrink the building down, and this is when you get the the basically chasing the football. So building gets shrunk down. Sonny Hope has the lab with
Right.
Louise. Sonny shows up. Sonny starts chasing them.
Hope.
Sonny starts chasing Hope. Hope is doing her, shrinking and enlarging, growing under the car, flipping the car. She's throwing a Pez dispenser, which Cassie got Louise for his birthday, which I'm sure he's kind of sad about that because he seemed like really happy about the Pez dispenser. It was like a good gift. So we get of course, the chase scene. Get pissed. And so somehow, because Louise now driving. No, Scott was driving. Sonny ends up reaching into the car, getting the lab out of it. And so now they have the lab. Now Sonny's running away. Hope is fighting Ghost in a flatbed truck. Ghost
again. One of the best fight scenes in the movie. Seeing Ghost phase in and out, seeing Hope go in, shrink down, come out, kick.
Ghost got the lab first, and then Sonny got the lab from Ghost. Because, Sonny got the lab from Hope because, and it's how to play hot potato. So Ghost gets the lab. Wasp, Hope is fighting Ghost, gets the lab back. She's standing on the back of the flatbed. Sonny in his SUV hits the back of the flatbed. Hope falls back into the windshield. He wrestles the lab from Hope, and then they go about their business. Ghost puts the toolbox on the gas pedal, so now the flatbed truck is running away. Scott has to go stop that. His suit starts malfunctioning again. So he stops the flatbed. Hope is now in the van, has to go chase down Sonny. And so now they're separated because Ghost is going one way. He's going after Sonny. Hope is getting back in the car so she can get Louise. Scott is chasing down a flatbed truck. And so Hope is like, okay, well, I have to go after them. But Louise is like, oh, we still have the remote because we're watching the time. At this point, Hank has already gotten, or almost has gotten to Janet. He finally gets to the spot where the coordinates bring him, gets out. We already know that quantum realm does something to your mind. So he starts losing it. Sees a flashback of his old house when Hank was a kid. I mean, when Hope was a kid, saying, you came back, where's mommy? Then we see adult Hope, we see adult Scott, and then we see this hooded figure walking towards Hank. And
we also see Bill there.
Oh yeah, Bill was there. It's just all kinds of trippy.
Sure. Yeah.
But one thing he did say while he was going into the quantum realm, he made the comment to himself. He was like, "Well, Scott, you never told me how beautiful it was," right. And he's seeing the quantum realm for the first time with his own eyes. So the hooded figure walks towards Hank and puts their hands on his head and just like gets his sanity straight. And so we see his Janet, and Janet explains, what's going on, and I'm not the same person that I was 30 years ago. The quantum realm changed me and all this other kind of stuff. And so they go try to enlarge
Kane. Ooh,
they can't return because the lab is not full size yet. And so Hank is like, I guess I should tell you what we're dealing with up there. And so time works differently, so apparently he had enough time to explain everything that was going on. I think Ghost is probably like taken out at this point. Ghost is still trying to get into the lab. Scott ends up skateboarding his way through San Francisco
on a flatbed.
Yeah, and this is when Louise gets out of the car. It's like because the van got crashed, and so they told him to go into the Hot Wheels case. He found the other car in the Hot Wheels case. So he's driving.
Yeah, he ends up growing large and getting the lab from Sonny off of the ferry because, come on, man, Ant-Man's holding the lab. You're really trying to hold on to this dude like
He's like, you're embarrassing yourself. But the fact when he jumped in the water and he was swimming to the ferry and how his feet were together and looked like a whale fin, they thought it was a whale.
Oh, that came right after the moment we were talking about with the ants. He was calling for the ants and he was trying to get ants and the seagulls kept eating them.
Yeah.
Oh, but again, he got the lab now. But again, great callback. You know, if he's that large, it takes a physical toll on his body. So he's, getting lightheaded. He's getting tired. He's going to pass out. He gets to a point that he gets the lab all the way back to shore, and he's collapsing. Hope's there. Hope sees him. Hope knows he only has so long in this mask. She's on her way to save him. She tells Luis to get the lab, and she died. Again, attention to detail. She didn't just dive small. She went, she shrunk, she enlarged, took the dive in big, and got to him faster, because if you would have did it small,
you would have had that speed.
Exactly. Regulates his new regulator, because his old regulator is non-existent, shrinks him down to small size, and then she's able to bring him up as small size and then make him normal size on land. Awesome scene. I was in the whole thing. I was like, yes, 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 yes. Now here comes Sonny's guys. Luis is on the run with the lab. And he ends up losing it. Ghost gets it back. And she's the one that blows it up right there in the street.
Right.
Just right there. It's like, I'm done playing.
Right. I'm done trying to protect people. I'm done trying to be cute.
Right. It's not going to be the hot potato thing. Right here. Boom. Give me the remote. Got the lab. Blows it up. Now Hank sees that it's blowing up. Here he comes with Janet in tow to get out of the quantum realm. But now, Ghost is like, turn this shit on.
Right.
She's trying to because she's got days away from dying. She's trying to heal herself. But of course, the Wasp comes in, Ant-Man comes in. They're not about to let that happen. They have no idea what's going on with Janet, but they just know that they're not about to let that happen, because there's a potential that she can kill her mom. So they stop her. Ghost comes out. We're fighting. Here comes Hank through the quantum tunnel.
Driving that thing like a bus.
Like a bat out of hell? Bat out of hell? Bat out of quantum tunnel? Like
bat out of Quantumania.
Like so Ant-Man sees it coming because Ghost has knocked Hope down from fighting, because they're fighting. Enlarges himself, grabs her, shrinks himself. Call back to the keyhole. Ant-Man 1. In reverse. Started out small, got big, but got small again because he didn't want to get hit like Ghost did. Ghost got hit, got her ass knocked down.
Also, he didn't want to be big enough. Well, he didn't want to be big and then have the little rocket ship hit him and then end up injuring Hank and Janet.
Exactly.
I mean, they did crash into the wall anyway.
Hey, the day is saved. Any crash you can walk away from is a good one. Ask Launchpad McDuck. Launchpad McDuck.
Launchpad McDuck.
You never watched Tailspin? No, not Tailspin. DuckTales. Yeah, he was on Darkwing Duck too.
Yeah, but we also glossed over the fact that when Hope got Scott out of water, she kissed him. So that romantic connection is back after being upset with him for so long.
Yeah, right, kissed him, man. He saved her out of jail. He risked everything for her. There's no secret. We know how much Cassie means to this man. He's here for you as well. So at the same time, you mean something to him too. He didn't just turn his back on you guys. He wanted to help. Again, Not a bad guy, just made bad choices.
Right.
Okay,
so
the day
is saved. Hank, Ghost got mollywopped by the vehicle.
Wah.
And so Janet walks out, sees Hope for the first time. Hope is ecstatic. Janet sees Scott, and he's like, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, but I mean, I guess we already met. And then Hank comes crawling out of the machine, like, yeah, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Nobody has to ask me how I'm doing.
Yeah. That's such a thing that I can envision happening for a dad too. It's like, yeah, it's all about mom.
So, but mom has been gone for 30 years, so I don't blame all the attention being on her. But so Ghost gets up, and so they're like, oh, hold up, chill out, calm down. Janet's like, I feel your pain, I know you're hurting, let me help you. And so Janet pushes quantum energy into her. However, she's able to do that now.
She got magic fingers now.
Don't know if I'm hoping that we revisit this or at least get some kind of explanation of it in Quantumania, because if not, I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Clearly, it's not something that's sustainable, though, because if you healed her initially, why are we going back into the quantum realm to get quantum energy for our ghost friend?
Because I think that the amount that Ghost needed was more than Janet could provide. Because if to fully heal her, I think, like they were saying, that would have killed Janet. That would have taken all of the energy out, and I'm guessing whatever quantum energy is entangled within her body now is probably what's keeping her alive. And you deplete that, she dies. So in order for us to also help Ghost now, we can't use Janet's quantum energy. We have to go back into the quantum realm. We have to siphon it from there, from the source, bring it back out. Then we could give it to her, because we have a fully functioning quantum tunnel. That's my guess, at least.
This is why that tunnel was destroyed in Endgame. Yeah. You can't just have access back and forth in the quantum tunnel. Wow. Makes sense. It had to destroy it.
Yeah. But
so now the day is saved because she's stabilized to a point that she can live on. Maybe she added years onto her life. Not really sure. They left it very ambiguous. We do not know, but we know it's a happy ending. What? Wait, no, not. Jimmy Woo is looking at Scott on the news.
Because everybody got their phones out, so we know that there's an 80-foot man. There's only one person that could be. But the fact that he always had the mask on, can't say for sure that was Scott.
You're right. And again, Scott, well enough to know, sleight of hand, deception, has this genius idea.
It's stood up against the wall.
And hide it against the wall like he's hiding. And of course, Jimmy Woo comes over and say, ha, I got you. I caught you. Come on down, Scott. Come on down. And they deflate the suit, shrinks it down to a point of, you can't even pick it up. Wasp swoops in, grabs the suit. Scott runs home, makes it home in time.
Runs home in his underwear.
I'm pretty sure they picked him up at some point to get him the rest of the way.
Here's my question. So I guess he got out of the suit because you think about it, right? He had to blow up the suit.
Let's just say ants were in it.
I'll take that. Because I was thinking he had to blow up the suit, position it up against the building. He can't shrink himself if he's out of the suit. So,
yeah, let's just say
ants. That'd be a lot of ants. Because we know that he can shrink the suit while he's not in the suit, because we've seen that happen. So he had to enlarge the suit as he was not in it. And so to position to position it up against the building like that while he's not in the suit. It had to be ants. Ants did it. So he runs home in his underwear, make sure that he gets home. Again, FBI bust through the door.
They just don't care.
And so of course he's there. And
Cassie's there because she's looking for her soccer shoes. Again, we paid this off. You knew she was coming. She needed her soccer shoes. It's not like they just randomly showed up. And she needed her soccer shoes for the game.
Maggie is saying, what does the FBI even stand for? Forever bothering individuals. Because every time they break in, they're always there? It's like, can't you just leave him alone?
Yeah, that it is a bit excessive. It's a lot of excessive. Scott comes down, say, it's been 2 years already, definitely
Right.
getting the upper hand, getting this anchor monitor removed, and then we get that great, great chemistry between Jimmy Woo and Scott Lang.
I'll be seeing
The
you
day
soon.
is saved. The
I'll be
day
seeing you
is
again.
saved.
It's like, well,
This
when are you gonna see me?
this was a great
I love that part.
rewatch. I am going to miss this in the new Ant-Man movie. I understand it's going to be a different type of Ant-Man movie, but I wish we can just have at least 1/4, 1/10, 1/8, 1/16 of some of what we have in the
Kind of going
previous Ant-Mans.
forth in your fractions.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. It won't be the comedic, because we talked about this when we were talking about Thor: Love and Thunder. You have a comedy movie with action, and then you have an action movie with comedy. And the first two Ant-Man movies have been comedy movies with action in it. Right? And I think that Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is going to be an action movie with comedy. So it won't be as comedic as the previous two films, but I think that going into the movie, because we have the same director, right? We may have different writers, but we have the same director. Peyton Reed is directing this one as well. So there's going to be that same style that we've been following for the past two movies. So it may not be as funny as the previous two movies, but that's because we're telling a different story, right? We're not focused on Ant-Man, or not focused on Ant-Man and the Wasp. We have bigger fish to fry. This is about Kang. And so you're still going to get, even if it may just be for the first half of the film, where we're still in San Francisco before we get into the Quantumania, we're still going to have those one-liners. We're still going to have those, like interjections, those little inserted jokes, and the comedic remarks and stuff like that. I think all that is still going to be there, but once we get into the Quantumania, the Quantum Realm, and we approach Kang and we get the severity of the situation and find out who this person is and why there's such a threat, and why, like we've seen in the trailer, Janet is so terrified that they've opened up this communication to the quantum realm. I think that, like we said, it's always about the stakes, right? And we know that they're going to be high stakes because we know how dangerous Kang is. But having them come to that realization as to who this person is and what they can do and what they're capable of, I think that's where the enjoyable part of the movie is going to come in. Because when we watched Infinity War, we were on the edge of our seats because every stone that Thanos got, because in our minds, we know that there's going to be another Avengers movie after this. But up to that point, for the most part, I would say for 98% of the MCU movies, the heroes always win in the end. Up until Infinity War. And so we get to that point to where now he's got the Mind Stone from Vision. It's like, well, shit. How are they going? How are they going to work? How are the Avengers? First of all, the Avengers are already split up, so we don't have everybody at full power. And the Devil Dogs or whatever, the Demon Dogs or whatever, just basically tore through Wakandan defenses. Thanos just Thanos Luis punched everybody out. If Luis would have fought Thanos, Luis would have knocked him out.
This is true because he did knock out Sonny.
He knocked out Sonny. Again, and we talked about it in the last movie. Luis is the only one. He got that fist. Luis got them hands. Luis knocked everybody. Everybody Luis approaches. Hey, Luis punches you, you go out.
You're going down.
So we should have had Luis in Wakanda.
He know how to curve the wrist. It's in the wrist. You gotta snap it.
It's not a straight punch. It's not an America Chavez straight punch. You gotta hit with the cross.
Oh my goodness.
But so we know how serious that Kang is and how much of a threat he is. But like I said, to see them discover that's where the enjoyment of the movie is going to be, because that's where we find our stakes, because we get to see, oh shit, this is something that they can't overcome. This is something that they don't know how to deal with. They're not fully equipped to handle
So
this
what
right
do we
now.
do now? Yeah.
Right. So that's like you said, it's not going to be the same like happy-go-lucky ride with a happy ending and everything, and everybody's at the end of the movie we saw in the mid-credit scene, or at least like right before the credits, they had like the little drive-in movie in the backyard with all the little Matchbox cars and sitting in front of a laptop. Happy ending. The family's together. Hope is now a part of Cassie's life, and so Cassie was like,
Janet is now a part of Cassie's life.
yeah. And so, they're one big happy family now. And so everything is all good. They got the contract for the ex-con.
Yeah.
Janet's back. Everybody's happy. Everybody's good.
They're from the news footage because T.I. and his friend
I'm remembering the actor's name, but I can't remember the character. Kurt. Baba Yaga.
So Dave and Kurt tied up the guys, tased them, stuck it with the truth serum. Now they're getting all kind of publicity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a happy ending. Everyone wins. And,
that is not going to be the case in Quantumania.
That is not going to be the case in Quantumania.
But, so, Mr. VIP, Frankie Washington, we have broken down all of Ant-Man and the Wasp, but we have to still ask the question, was it super?
Without a shadow of a doubt, Ant-Man and the Wasp is super. It is worth the rewatch. If you haven't watched it, it is worth the initial watch. If you watched us and didn't want to feel like watching it, and you think that we've told you everything there is about the movie, watch it anyway. It is worth the watch. It is definitely super. I think it's underestimated in the series of MCU movies. Shit, I might go and watch it again. It was just that good. But what about you, Spider? Do you think Ant-Man and the Wasp, co-titled now?
Co-titled.
Not just co-titled. It's not Ant-Man, the Wasp way under here. It's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Mm-hmm.
Was it super?
It was absolutely super. And thinking back on the placement of when this movie was released, I can understand why people didn't give it as much credit as it deserved, because we're talking about a movie fresh off the heels of Infinity War, right? So you take the spectacle that Infinity War was, 10 years of MCU movies building up to this one moment in Infinity War, and we're hit with the devastation that Thanos amassed all the Infinity Stones and snapped away half of the population. And so we are reeling with that, because after that, nobody cared about what was happening before Infinity War happened. We want to know what's going to happen now. Infinity War happened, half the universe is dusted away. We want to know what's happening next. But before we can get to Endgame, we have to go through two movies that were in the past. One, I think they say that the events of Ant-Man and Wasp happened a few weeks before Infinity War, and Captain Marvel took place in the 90s. Right? It's like, okay, we got to sit through this so we can get to, what's going to happen in Endgame, but that's not where my attention is right now. It's like you take this monumental event that was Infinity War, where we have not stakes that will put the country at risk, not stakes that put the world at risk, stakes that put the entire universe at risk. So we have these large stakes, hands outside of the frame of the camera, large stakes this big,
tomahawk steak.
Then you get to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and we're worried about. We brought it back. San Francisco. Not even San Francisco. It was so small. It was quantum. It was a quantum situation. A couple city blocks. That's all it was. That's the area that we were operating in. A couple city blocks in San Francisco, and
microscopic.
And so, I think that when the movie first came out, it was a success in the sense of box office success, but as far as critics were concerned of the movie, I think at the time it was just it was so small compared to everything that we had just saw in Infinity War.
No pun intended.
No pun intended at all. But I think that after all of that, that's being able to rewatch it and being able to get to see with a fresh perspective. Like, okay, we already know everything that happened. We know what happened in Endgame. We know, where all of this is coming now. And then you just get to see all of that. Like we were talking about before, how we get to see that building up of the relationship between Scott and Cassie, and how much Scott means to Cassie, and how that just the events of the past two movies can motivate her to want to be just like him. She knows that he's a superhero. She knows that Hope's a superhero. She knows that they fought against Thanos, that they were a part of bringing the, half the universe back. She knows that they're a part of that. And so why wouldn't she idolize Scott? Why wouldn't she want to be a superhero? Why wouldn't she want to be a part of that? So of course, going into that now, I'm following my father's footsteps. I'm pretty sure that she's in jail for doing something along the lines of what Scott did. She's probably a hacktivist or something like that, hacking into, some corporation, funneling money back to its employees or something. And so that's why she got put in jail. So we get to see these movies, and we get to, since we already know everything that had happened, and going back to watching it again, we see, oh shit, they did talk about this, and how we heard Janet say, don't get stuck into a time vortex, and because I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, when I was rewatching it, I said that Janet was gone for 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that in Endgame, Scott was gone for 5 years, but when he went to the Avengers compound, he said it wasn't 5 years for me. It felt like it was only 5 hours. So I was thinking, I was like, well, if Janet was gone for 30 years, was that the equivalent? Was it just 30 hours for her? But I was like, clearly it's not, because she's visibly aged. Right. And so it wasn't that it was only 30 hours for her. It could have possibly been longer, because like she said, time works differently in a quantum realm. But it was that Scott got sucked into a time vortex, and so that's why his 5 years only felt like 5 hours.
Or maybe she got stuck in the time vortex.
It's possible.
Because time worked differently there.
But I mean, she knows that she was there for 30 years. Because when she, one of the first things she said to Hank was, I'm not the same person that I was 30 years ago.
No, because she's been with Kang. And, once you go black.
But yes, it's absolutely super. But let us know in the comments what you thought about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like we said, if you rewatched it, if this is your first time watching it, if you're trying to get prepped for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you thought about. We'll get into that when we watch Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. And we'll find out what the
not the same, Hank. It's not the same. Things have changed, Hank.
We will find out
you used to do, you can't do no more.
What the relation? Well, you can't, because he's 30 years older now, so he even lost his stuff. But we'll find out.
You got pimp particles.
Ain't the only thing that's gonna be getting bigger than nice.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, we'll find out what the relationship between Janet and Kang actually was, and why she's so afraid of the quantum realm. But until then, if you like the video, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes that come out. If you want the audio version, just search for All Things Super on any of the major podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to join in on the conversation, just tweet at us at ATSuperPod.
And we like reading the comments. So leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. I can't wait. Ant-Man and the Wasp. And
4 days.
Do you think the fourth one is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp and Stature?
I don't know if there's going to be a fourth one.
Let me call Kevin up.
I don't know if there's gonna be a 4th, and I would be surprised if there's a 4th Ant-Man movie. We'll see how this one works out, and if there is gonna be a 4th one, of course it's gonna have to be after Secret Wars. I don't think they're gonna shoehorn another one in before that.
No, indeed.
But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how Quantumania ends and see where the story takes us from there. Maybe there's
Make sure y'all come back for this Quantumania breakdown. Let's go.
Come back next week, and we will get. Remember 2023, no spoilers. So if you come for our Quantumania breakdown, we're getting into everything. But you have to come back and find out. But Quantumania comes out this week. I'm so excited. I am so ready for this. It feels like it's been forever since we've been to the theaters for a Marvel movie. And to be honest, it has been. Because... yeah. I mean, what? Because Wakanda Forever was November?
Yeah, it's true. It's been, what, 3 months? God, we're MCU junkies at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, I need a new movie. I need a new movie.
I'll watch Moon Knight if I have to.
And it's not to say that because we got we got the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, so it's not like that's the last Wakanda Forever wasn't the last MCU property that we got, but the last theatrical release that we received was Wakanda Forever. So, like you said, 3 months is ready to get back into it. You know, we want that popcorn movie. We want to get back and get our butts in the theater seats and watch something to be wild and amazed by. Which we already know Kang is coming with the heat. Kang is coming with the heat, and he will not be stopped. So, I don't know. Get ready for some tears, because I think they might be emotional. I'm almost guaranteeing that there will be some emotional beats in the movie.
I'm crying already. Just tears they're little tears though. They're small.
Quantum tears. Quantum tears. Is this the first time that we had somebody say you guys just put quantum in front of everything? Because that's what Scott asked Bill. He's like, you guys just put quantum in front of everything?
It ain't gonna be the last time though.
No, it's not gonna be the last time. But we will check out Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. So come back for our next episode when we do our full breakdown and our full review. The queens will be with us. We will have, I know mine will be with us. Will yours be joining us? We'll figure it out. We'll have at least one of the queens with us. But it's a new Marvel film, so the ladies typically join us with the new Marvel films.
If you like eye candy, come and see.
Yeah. If this is not enough for you, then come back next week. Come back next week and you'll get some more. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all the love. We appreciate the support. But we will see you in the next episode.